Now, as you're probably beginning to realize, Google likes text, and the more text, the better. So there's no set rule about how much text a single page should contain, but really as much as possible would be my advice without overdoing it. That said, you don't want to have absolutely reams and reams on a page. So the other advice is, if you've got an awful lot of information, think about splitting it, group the information into different sort of themes, split it up, and maybe instead of having one long page, very, very long page, maybe have 2 or 3 separate pages, all of which are kind of focused on a different keyword phrase. But that said, don't be afraid of having a lot of text on a page. Google loves it. Now, generally when clients see me and I tell them, well, basically you need a lot more text, the reaction is really all the same. People like nice, pretty websites with pictures and videos maybe, and not too much text, because people just don't read that much these days. It's sad but true. So the problem is, how do you get more text on a page and effectively hide it from people who don't want to bother reading it? And the solution is something called tabs. So if you use tabs, and here's an example over here. In this particular case, I've got 3 tabs. This is for a little pretend holiday company, and I've got one tab for London, one for Paris, one for Sydney. And the idea of tabs is you can hide information. I'll show you this as a real demo in a second, and you'll see what I mean. So this is a page I created just to sort of show you what tabs are. Now, at the top, you've got your menu system, the normal menu system. And if you look right down at the bottom down here, when I move over here, if I was to click on this would show me the home page. This one here would show me the about page. This one here, the contact us page. And as you can see, if you look down at the bottom left, when I click on these, those would take you to, click on those links would take you to different pages. Now, bear in mind, the problem was, how do I kind of sneak more text on a page without it looking sort of, like too much? And this is the solution. Look, I've got a whole lot of information here about London, and that's in the London tab. Now, if I move over here and click on where it says Paris, keep your eye on the URL here, the address at the top. If I click on Paris, you can see what happens. I stay on the same page, but I just show you some different information. If I click on Sydney, again, I stay on the same page. So if I move up slightly so you can see this, so that's London and a whole lot of information about London, Paris and a whole lot of information about Paris, and Sydney and a whole lot of information about Sydney. The reason this is such a cool idea is, from a human's point of view, I can choose to see information about London, Paris, or Sydney, and that's almost like looking at a different page. In fact, that's probably what most people would think is happening when you click on those London, Paris, or Sydney links. But in actual fact, all that's happening is, when I look at stuff in the Sydney link here, it showed me a picture and some text which is on that page. And when I go and click on Paris, that showed me some different text and a different picture, but it's also contained on the same page. Or to put it another way, I've got a long page here containing information about London, Paris, and Sydney, all on the same page. So when Google looks at this page, it sees all the text. So remember, when Google looks at this page, it's looking at all the code in the background for this particular page. So effectively, I've got a very long page here full of lots and lots of text. Viewers are not really aware of all that text unless they choose to go and look at it, but Google is. So that's one way how you can get a lot of text into a website without annoying your visitors, and in actual fact, in this case, providing extra information to visitors so they can concentrate on what they're interested in. But as I say, Google sees everything. It sees everything on the page. And as I say, don't confuse tabs with menus at the top here. When you click on the menus, you go somewhere completely different. So this style here, where you've got these tabs up here, that's actually called tabs. If I scroll down, I've done another example here using what's called an accordion, which uses exactly the same idea, but instead of tabs being across the page like this, the idea of an accordion is I've got one for Paris here, and we can see that, and underneath I've got Sydney and London. If I go and click on the Sydney one, can you see what happened? The Paris one closed, the Sydney one opened. If I go and click on London, the Sydney one closes and the London one opens up. But again, it's the same story. All of this text, when I click on these accordions, all of this text is actually on the page, and it's up to the viewer to click on the one that they're interested in, and they don't get swamped with all the other information. You know, if they're only interested in London, they've got no interest in going to Paris or Sydney, then that's what they can concentrate on. But as I keep saying, in the background of all this is all on the one page. Google will see information about London, Paris and Sydney. So a kind of cool idea that. How you actually make that work, there's lots of plugins that will do this in WordPress for you, or this one is actually done in something called Divi. I will be producing a completely separate course on Divi. Divi is not a plugin, it's a theme you can install with WordPress, and I'd strongly recommend you take a look at Divi. It's a really powerful theme for WordPress, and I don't know, where do I start? There are so many things you can do with Divi. It just makes your life so much easier. It kind of takes WordPress to the next level, but as I say, I'll be producing a separate course on Divi in due course.